All right, if you get out your Roman circles, everybody have a sheet? Okay, we've been filling in blanks, and if you got a new sheet this morning, I hand wrote and filled in the blanks that we've filled in so far. But let me just review briefly. We're going through an overview of Romans, summarized in these circles. And on the left-hand side of the page, there's three words: problem, solution, and outcome. We've talked about the problem and the solution up until now. The problem at the top is summarized in circle 1. Everybody in the world, line number 2 is unrighteous in the sight of God and enemies in the sight of God. Those that believe in Jesus for eternal life move to the solution, circle 2. Line 7 under the circle is what? What's justified mean? Declared righteous. And they're reconciled to God. And they have the potential, we have the potential to move to circle 3, summarized in line 16, saved from wrath, which is not saved from hell. Paul never uses the word saved in Romans as saved from hell. Always saved from wrath in our daily lives. It's daily salvation from the power of sin. Boy, that's a fast overview or summary. But I told you this week we'd try to get to circle 4. So I think we're going to do that today. Now, you'll notice at the bottom of the page there's 2 circles, 4 and 5. And I've said to the left, this is the outcome. If you are in circle 2, the outcome will be seen in circle 4. If you're in circle 3, the outcome will be seen in circle 5. And all of us probably are a mixture of circle 2 and circle 3. So all of us will be a mixture of 4 and 5. If that's not confusing enough, maybe it'll get cleared up as we keep going through this. All right? So that's kind of the overview of where we've been, where we're going. So let me put it in other terms. So what if you're spiritual in your daily life or not? What difference does it make? Well, today we're going to see that Paul says it makes a big difference. In eternity, it will make an eternal difference. And we're going to see what that is today. So we're down to line 21. Can everybody find line 21? It's underneath circle 2. It's between circle 2 and circle 4. It's right there by that arrow, line 21. And to see what this is about, you want to look at chapter 8, 21 and 23, which if you turn over on your page, I want to read 8, 21 and 23. I've got the references there. All right, let me read. The creation itself also will be delivered from the bondage of corruption into the glorious liberty of the children of God, the redemption of our body. All right, let's think about those words, because there's a lot there. The creation will be delivered from the bondage of corruption. What's he talking about, do you think? What's that a reference to? The bondage?
Rapture, the original.
Well, you're talking about the deliverance. I want to go back. What is the bondage of corruption of creation?
The original sin.
Okay, sin was the cause, but what did it do to creation?
Corrupted all.
Cursed of all.
Yeah. Corrupted. The creation that we live in is beautiful and awesome and fantastic, but it's got problems, right? Okay, you see the sunrise, it's gorgeous. You see the mountains, you see the the oceans, it's magnificent. What does the creation, what's the purpose of creation, by the way?
Show the glory of God.
Show the glory of God, to prove that God exists. By the way, that's in Romans chapter 1. In fact, Paul, I'm going to, if you remember, Paul says, what's he say about people that say there's no God? Fools. And he uses some other terminology. They're without excuse. That's inexcusable for somebody to say there's no God. Why?
Because it's creation.
Because the creation proves it. Anybody that looks at the creation, just with an obvious evaluation, they have to conclude there's a God. There's a mind behind what I see. It couldn't have happened by accident. And Paul's very blunt and bold. He's not politically correct at all. He's very bold and says, they're fools. They're without excuse. Anybody that says there's no God, when they look at the creation, is just without excuse.
Yeah, look at birth.
Yeah, that's part of the creation. It's the birth of a baby. Okay. But Paul is reminding us here in 8:21 that the creation has a problem. Even as glorious as it is, there's corruption. Look at the terminology. Someday the creation will be delivered from the bondage of corruption. Reminding us that right now the creation is under the bondage of corruption. And I asked earlier, I'm going to ask again, what's he talking about? Somebody said it. Sin. Sin caused it, but what is it? What's the bondage of corruption, Ray?
The
Of the creation.
Being out of the sight of God.
Yeah, but what do we see in the creation that reminds us that it's under a bondage? Pardon?
Yeah.
Death.
Corruption.
Death.
Yeah.
Is there death in the creation?
Yes.
Yeah. Of human beings?
Yes.
Yeah. What else?
Physical, planet changing, all kinds of stuff.
Okay, death.
Deterioration.
Deterioration, yeah. How about hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, yeah, droughts? When God created the original creation with Adam and Eve, were there droughts,
No.
earthquakes,
No.
tornadoes, hurricanes?
They were under.
Imagine Adam and Eve hiding from a hurricane or a tornado. No. When did that come into existence? When did those things come into existence?
Tree of knowledge.
After the fall. The fall brought sin. When they sinned, it affected people, but it also affected the whole creation. And that's what he's talking about here. The creation is under the bondage of corruption. As great as it is, it's still got a reminder within it that there's sin in the world. And someday, now I'm going to go back to the verse, the creation will be delivered from the bondage of corruption. When will that be?
When the Lord of Jesus comes back.
Yeah, when Christ returns, the earth and the creation will be renovated or changed to an enormous degree. It'll be very different. There won't be the same suffering and death. Now, in the first 1,000 years of the kingdom, there will be some residual effects of the bondage of corruption, but most of it will be transformed and changed. Until when? So when will there be no?
The new heaven and the new earth.
Yeah, the new earth. In the new earth, after the 1,000 years, but now we're getting a lot deeper than I want to go this morning. I'm just trying to touch the highlights of what Paul is referring to here. So, when he says the creation will be delivered from the bondage of corruption into the glorious liberty of the children of God. All right. And then he goes on in verse 23 to define that liberty as the redemption of our body. Let's think about that. What do you think he means by the redemption of our body?
Removal of sin.
That's, let's be careful about that. When is sin, what do you mean by removal of sin?
At the end of the 1,000-year reign, all sin goes away.
Yeah,
Talking about glorified bodies.
yeah, we're talking about when is a child of God's body redeemed or delivered?
Rapture.
At the rapture. Okay. What's the condition of your body before the rapture?
Flesh.
Flesh? Yeah, but you're only given, yeah.
Finite.
Who's going to be affected at the rapture?
Believers.
Where? Above the ground or under the ground?
Both.
Both.
It says that, that dead will rise first.
Yeah. So, if you die before the rapture, what's the condition of your body?
It's gone. It's waiting.
Depends.
What's the condition of your physical body?
It's dust
Okay, where is it?
in the ground.
Yeah, under the ground. Dead. Lifeless. Decaying. Turned to ashes. Right? Not very good shape.
Burn dirt.
What's going to happen to your body at the rapture?
Just stay there.
Now you get a glorified body, it comes out.
It's going to be resurrected, brought back to life.
And
Gonna-
glorified.
For how long?
Eternity.
For eternity. That's the redemption of the body. Your body's, when he talks about redemption, there's a redemption of the body and a redemption of the soul or spirit. When is your spirit redeemed? It's the moment you believe. You're transformed on the inside the moment you believe, but not your body. Your body won't be transformed until the return of Christ and the rapture.
Right.
Be redeemed. It'll be transformed or changed forever at the rapture. Okay. There's a lot of theology here. There's just a few phrases there, but we're trying to think through what they mean. The redemption of the body refers to the day that your body will be transformed and changed into a sinless, glorified body. Yes. And that's going to happen at the return of Christ in the rapture. When will the creation be delivered from the bondage of corruption?
When Christ returns to the earth.
When Christ returns to the earth. This is a little hard this morning. We could spend months on this. I'm just trying to cover it in a few minutes. When Christ returns to the earth, he sets up his kingdom on this earth. But this earth will be renovated, drastically changed. Not totally without the effects of sin, but greatly transformed and changed. Then, after the 1,000 years, there'll be a new earth. In the new earth, there won't be any effects of sin whatsoever. So, you have to process this. The creation, the bondage of corruption creation will be greatly altered at the second coming on this renovated earth. I use the word renovate because the whole earth will be renovated and changed, and the bondage of corruption will be, for the most part, overcome. with some residual effects. But then, after 1,000 years, there'll be a new earth, and the bondage of corruption will be totally gone from the new creation, the new earth. Paul's putting it all together in a condensed statement. What he's saying, if you look at 8:21 again, speaking of the future, the creation will be delivered from the bondage of corruption. That day's coming. Into the glorious liberty of the children of God, and then he refers to that liberty as the redemption of our body. We will be liberated, so to speak, from the total liberation of our physical body will be at the return of Christ in the rapture. Okay, now, you may have questions, and I wouldn't blame you if you did. That's a lot to cover.
I
But
got some.
yeah, go ahead.
I'll pass right now.
Okay. You got some.
I don't want to get deep with you.
That's all right. Feel free to ask as we go along. Does anybody have an immediate question about the passage? Okay, let's turn over on the diagram. Now, I want to ask for a guess on what you think we might put in the blank line 21. And we may come up with a lot of different ideas here, but let's throw it out. What to move from 2 and the outcome of what's going to happen someday, what might be a good word to put on line 21?
One single word?
Yeah,
Redemption.
redemption would be if we can remember what Paul meant by redemption in verse 23. So that's a good guess.
Deliverance. Deliverance.
Deliverance, I like that too. Of course, that's the outcome, or what results in that deliverance, yeah. Any other guesses? Yeah. Keep liberty in mind. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what I put, because it helps me to remember exactly what he's talking about, and that's resurrection. So I'm suggesting, you can put what you want, I put resurrection on line 21, because that's when our bodies will be redeemed, at the resurrection. At the resurrection, our bodies will be redeemed. Now, that leads to line 22, and Wes just said it, liberation. I've got liberated on line 22, because that's the actual, that's my actual, that will be yours and my actual experience of our bodies. Our bodies will be liberated when they're resurrected. That's what I'm trying to say. Line 21, resurrection. Line 22, liberated. What's liberated?
Set free.
Yeah, that's what the words mean, set free.
Free from sin.
What part of it, I'm only reviewing here, what part of you is going to be liberated at the resurrection? Your body. Your body is going to be liberated from what? I'm a little bit hesitated to say that your body under the ground is sinning.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Your body under the ground is not sinning. Death.
Yeah.
Your body's going to be liberated from death. I mean, when you die, your body's put in the ground. Can you say, my body's been liberated? It's been put in a casket under the ground. Is that liberation?
It says that you're at rest here.
Who said that? What's at rest?
Your body is dead.
Well,
It's at rest.
Well,
Scripture says.
Scripture says your body is at rest.
Yes, so you're at rest
Yeah, maybe.
before Christ comes.
Yeah, maybe.
And then the dead will rise.
All right.
And then the ones that are living will rise then after.
Yes, split second after, right. So, Yeah, well, your body, though, is not liberated from this. When you die, your body's put in the ground. Can you say, my body has been liberated? No. When will your body be liberated from death? At the rapture. Your body will be resurrected. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Your body has a few, your body, we talk about phrases at the cemetery. In fact, I just did a funeral a couple weeks ago with the funeral director said we lay Randy to his final resting place. And I wanted to say something, but I didn't. In fact, I contradicted him when I spoke, because I said that someday his body is going to be raised out of this cemetery. I might have said this isn't his final resting place. Maybe I did contradict him, actually. This is not his final resting place. But that's, you've all heard that, right? Put the cemetery as someone's final resting place. So I'm asking you, if you've been paying attention in the last minute, is that true?
No.
No, the cemetery is not the final resting place of someone's body. It's not going to stay there. It's going to be raised.
Depending on where you're going, brother.
That's right.
It's a staging place for believers.
Yeah, but everybody's gonna get resurrected.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, that's why I said it's no one's resting place. Because even unbelievers are going to be raised. Yeah. To what destiny?
Great white throne.
Well, great white throne, and then what?
Lake of fire.
Lake of fire. So, but the difference, well, we're really getting into it. There will be a difference between the resurrection of believers and unbelievers.
It's a 2 different times.
What's 2 different times and 2 different conditions? What's the condition of an unbeliever?
Lake of fire.
That's the place. What's the condition?
Still in death and
Still sin and separation from God. And no, they're not. It's not a glorified body. It's a body characterized by sin and separation from God. Glorified body has no sin and is with God forever. So we're really getting into it. We're here talking about the body of a believer. And at the resurrection, that body will be liberated. Liberated, now I'm going to ask it again. Liberated from what?
death.
Death? How about, where has that body been?
The ground.
Will it be liberated from the grave? Yeah, that's the understatement, isn't it? The body will be liberated from the grave. The body is in captivity to the grave until the rapture. That's where it is. It's, under the ground in a casket. That's not liberty. But someday that body's going to be brought up out of the grave, out of the casket, and be given resurrection life for how long? Forever. Okay?
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So what about those believers that are cremated?
Yeah. I think the Bible speaks to that because the Bible talks about the resurrection of those that have died at sea. So anybody, and there have been countless numbers that have died at sea over the centuries, right?
Explosion.
What happens to their bodies when they die at sea, ultimately? Have you ever thought about it?
Fish food.
Fish food, yeah.
Instead of worm food.
And so where would the body be found?
All over the place.
It's just
Found in my master's somewhere.
disintegrated into, or it's assimilated into the ocean, and the molecules are all over the ocean. So to me, that's an answer to cremation. That's what happened in creation. Where does the body go in cremation?
Same time.
They're back in the dust. They're-
into the air or into the ashes that remain. But how, so what's God going to do about that? Somebody dies at
DNA
sea.
code.
God says, man, I can't do anything about that.
Well, you got to kind of start talking about the.
What's God say about a body that died at sea in the
They're gonna
future?
resurrect them.
No problem.
What's he say?
No problem.
No problem. Because what will God do?
Put all the cells back together.
He'll bring all those molecules back. He knows where everyone is. Cremation, no problem. He can bring all those atoms and molecules back and rebuild the body. Yeah. So that's my,
Think about,
I believe that because of the passage about bodies that die at sea. To me, that answers the question about what bodies that are cremated.
I mean, he spoke the universe into existence, putting me back together, just a short story.
I think the thing about it is, he's talking about the rich man that has to go to his father's funeral. I think that intertwines in that Jesus was saying, let the dead bury the dead, so leave it alone. Isn't that what he's kind of, you're dead, you're dead. He can raise you from anything. Just fix your eyes on him.
You want to get technical, I mean, Adam and Eve and everybody, there's nothing left of their body anywhere either. And down through the centuries, the only remnants of anybody's physical body is maybe a couple of 100 years if you use embalming fluid on. So it's the same thing,
Yeah,
I think it,
dust to dust.
dust to dust, yes.
Yeah.
I might be wrong, but doesn't it, like, doesn't that, it hits about your spirit. That's what goes to heaven, I feel like, that
Yes.
God knows your spirit, so that's, because you're gonna get a new glorified body, but he's worried about this one in the first place, it's dead and gone.
No, well, yes and no. Well, yeah, I agree, I think I agree with everything you said, but I want to make sure. When we die, our spirit leaves our body, absent from the body,
I was gonna ask you about
present
that.
with the Lord. The
Right.
spirit leaves the body, spirit with the Lord, body still here. We are not, there's a sense in which we're going to get a new body and a sense in which we're not. Why would I say that?
God
But
knows,
Jesus,
He knows
what he
my
looked like,
existence.
he knew exactly what he looked like, who he was. And the same thing with Moses and Elijah.
Yes.
Yes. When Jesus rose from the dead, and by the way, how many people up until today have risen from the dead in a glorified body? Up until today, how many? One. Only Jesus.
Raised the Bible.
They, not in a glorified
Right, you're right.
body.
Yes, sir.
So, was it the same body or a different body? When Jesus rose from the dead, was it the same body that was put in the tomb or a different body?
Same body,
Same body,
because they recognize it.
same body,
That's
yes.
it.
So when a believer is raised from the dead, is it going to be the same body or a different body?
same body.
It's the same body. That's why I want to make sure we understand what we mean by new. It's new in the sense that it's resurrected. It's
The
not,
likeness of it.
it's not new in the sense that it's not different. It's the same, but resurrected. That's why we talked, and you brought it up about cremation or death at sea. It's the same molecules. God's not going to start over. He's going to resurrect what was there. Just like he did with Jesus. And that's why it's so important. The terminology Paul's using is this body will be liberated. This is the liberty that we're going to experience. The liberation of our physical body.
So,
That's going to happen at the rapture.
so you're saying that in 21, that glorious liberty of the children of God, that's the redemption of our bodies?
Yes.
Okay,
The glorious liberty of the children of God is the redemption of the body. That's what I believe Paul's saying in those verses.
so when does the creation itself get delivered from the bondage of corruption? That happens at the beginning of the millennial reign.
Yes.
But our bodies are redeemed 7 years before that.
Right.
So our bodies are redeemed, and then 7 years later, the creation is delivered into the liberty of the children of God.
Yes.
That's hard for me to...
No, think about it. The children of God experience liberty, and then the creation gets to experience the liberty that the children of God have already experienced.
Okay, so it's as if the creation is joining into the liberty that we've already been experiencing for 7 years.
Well put. That's well put. I
Because we
appreciate
fell
you-
before the.
Appreciate you there on, or focusing on the timeline here. The rapture occurs, and the children of God experience, their bodies are liberated
Sure.
from the grave.
So is that,
7 years later, the creation experiences the liberty that the children of God have experienced. It is to get out from under the curse of the fall.
Okay, that helps me, thanks.
But isn't that the sense of into?
Pardon?
Isn't that the sense of into? You can't put something into unless it's there.
Yeah,
Where are we? Are you
No, no,
referring
it
to?
says,
he's talking about the word into.
Yes, thank you. That only underscores what I just said. Thank you. The word into implies that, doesn't it? Yeah, good point. Okay, how are we doing? Is this making sense? So, on the circles, line 21, at the resurrection, line 22, our bodies will be liberated from the effect of sin, which is death. Which, by the way, if you go up to circle 2, line 9, describing your body, what words are there?
sins of death?
Sin and death. So, liberation for your physical body will be the liberation from sin and death. I should say the effects of sin, which is death. Okay? How are we doing? Does that make sense? Now, thinking back to circle 2, right now, you're living in a body, every one of us, that still sins. And our bodies are holding us captive to sin. And we want to get to the right, to circle 3, to experience life and not sin and death. That's a preview. You and I can have a preview today in circle 3 of what we're going to ultimately experience in circle 4. In circle 4, our bodies are going to be totally liberated. But God doesn't want us to wait until we die. He wants us to experience victory every day over the power of sin that this body is prone to. But the ultimate outcome is someday, even if we stay in circle 2, even if we struggle, and we do struggle with sin, even if we don't have much victory in circle 3 in our daily life, the outcome is still liberation. Every child of God is going to be liberated from sin at the resurrection. Or their bodies, I should say, are going to be liberated from sin and death at the resurrection. Question about that? Okay. By the way, Paul said, going back to Romans 8:21, the creation will be delivered from the bondage of corruption into the glorious liberty of whom? Children of God. That's a technical term for Paul. You remember when we saw it? It's line 8, line 8. Go back to circle 2. Line 8. Above the circle, what's line 8 say? Child of God. How many born-again Christians are called children of God? All. Good answer. All. Every child, every born-again Christian is called a child of God. How many of the children of God will experience redemption of the body? All. All. That's what we just read in Romans 8, right? All of all the children of God are going to be resurrected and liberated. Their bodies are going to be resurrected and liberated. All right, question? All right, now we're on line 23. And for this, we're looking at Romans 8:17a. So turn back to 17a. If children, then heirs of God. Can everybody find where I'm reading? Kind of have to look for it. On the back, find Romans 8:16, and then I'll read 17a. Let me start with 16. The Spirit Himself bears witness with our spirit that we are children of God. And if children, then heirs of God. Okay. So what term do you think we might write on line 23? Yeah, heir of God. H-E-I-R. Heir, it's in the singular, heir of God. When you think of an heir, thinking about the past, present, or future. The word heir. Future. It's something that you inherit something or if you're destined for an inheritance, that's something that you attain in the future. And that's what this is about, is the inheritance of a child of God. And he says that children of God are heirs of God. That's the point. If children, then heirs of God. How many children are heirs of God? All. Yeah, all of them. We've already answered that. Okay. The only two lines we have left are line 24 and 25. And what word would you guess we'd put on 24? Life. What word would you guess we'd put on 25? Life. Thank you. 24 and 25 are both life. You could put eternal. Yeah. Yeah. It's life. Now, go back up to circle 2. What do you have on line 10? Life. What do you have on line 9? Sin and death. So what changed with the Spirit?
Nothing changed.
Nothing changed. Same life. When you're resurrected at the rapture, nothing changes. When you die, nothing changes on the inside. You have life in the inner man, in your spirit. When you die, that doesn't change. You just continue to have God's life in your spirit. When you're resurrected, nothing changes. Life. But at the resurrection, something does change with your body. It's glorified. And no more death. No more death. It's life. Okay, so what questions do you have about Circle 4? We've covered Circle 4 today. What questions? Okay. Next week, we will go to Circle 5. I think that's covered for today. Let's pray.